how hard you try, you can't stop us now. No matter how hard you try, you can't stop us now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is William Whitecrow, and welcome to another session of Sovereign Minds Radio. I would like you to call in after our first break, and that number is 605-4567, area code 530. And tonight we have a very interesting show with you. We have a couple experts here, as far as I'm concerned, and they know what's going on. One is Dane Wigington, and the other is Michael Murphy. But before we go any further here, I want to touch on some news flashes here, our news threads. Russian methane problem here. Ladies and gentlemen, the ice in Russia is melting up in Siberia, and they're finding out that large amounts of methane is being released there. I actually seen the video, and what they did, they took up, found a hole, chopped a small hole in the ice, and lit it with a match. It burned blue. Unbelievable what's going on with our climate change. North Korea attacked South Korea, as you even know. Now, that's very interesting because off the West Coast and East Coast, we had 2 missiles fired. Many people believed that they were Chinese submarines, and then not long, a week after that, bam, North Korea attacks an island of South Korea.
Right, South Korea and U.S. is doing some military operations right there.
Yeah, they had a separate fleet.
And North Korea is kind of mad about it.
So. Oh, they're mad. Not only that, China said if we get involved and we attack, they could be retaliatory from them also. Now, we also want to talk about the TSA scanning. If you have your children, your wife, and everything going through scanning, I have seen the videos. This is a little outrageous here. Do you want them touching and doing the whole routine that they're doing out there now? There, ladies and gentlemen, the more the government turns around and tells you that they're going to turn around and protect you, each time they tell you that, they take away another freedom. I've seen it. We're tired of it. So fly another airline. That's basically what I have to say. And the feds also, from the Federal Reserve, also say right now that the economy will not get any better all the way up until 2012. Does that surprise you? It really doesn't me, because it seems that somebody's trying to knock the dollar out. So with that said, I'm going to turn around and let Nate here introduce our 2 gentlemen that are experts in this field. They've done documentaries on December 3rd at Sequoia Middle School. We have What the Heck Are They Spraying Anyway? Is that correct?
Well, it's actually called What in the World?
What in the World?
Are They Spraying? But very close.
There you go. Okay, so I'm going to let Nate take over right now, and let's get going.
We have the director, Michael Murphy, and Dane Wigington, and you go ahead and tell us what made you want to start doing this?
Well, What in the World Are They Spraying is an investigative documentary about the issue of geoengineering, also called the Chemtrail issue. Mm-hmm. And what made me interested in this was an awareness to this issue. And a number of years ago, somebody had told me that airplanes were spraying artificial clouds into the sky. And like most people, I thought that they were completely crazy.
I did.
As most of us did.
Right.
But it wasn't until a couple years later when somebody had actually pointed it out. And I began to notice airplanes in the sky emitting a very long trail behind them, and those trails actually spread out and created an artificial cloud. So I began investigating what was up in the air and became deeply concerned. And there's actually a science which is related to aerosol spraying, and that's called the science of geoengineering. So we began to investigate that from a scientific standpoint, and what we found was deeply concerning, because we found that these programs were in fact very real and a threat to both ecology and human health. So the documentary has been very effective in terms of waking people up, and for the first time in a long time, we are finally starting to get the attention from the scientific community in support of this. So it's a very interesting documentary, and it's actually been released for right around a month. It's been very effective. It's had over 1 million views on the internet, and it's gone around the world. It's been translated into several different languages, I think about 5 different languages. So we can get into more of the specific issues, the ecological implications, and the health implications. But to answer your question, what made me do the film was my deep concern for the issue.
That's
Dane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Dane. So what got you to start?
I have a background in solar power. I work for Bechtel Power Company, which is a 4-letter word now. But on the first solar plants in the continental U.S., I have a large off-grid home, and again, that being my background, when I began to lose 30, 40, 50% of my solar uptake on given days from these grid patterns that were being laid out over the entire valley, it was clear something was going on above, some sort of experimentation. I'd heard about the, quote, chemtrail issue, as Mr. Murphy stated he had too, but I didn't give it any credence. But when I began to see the extent to which the entire sky was being covered artificially, I did investigate the issue. I came across the geoengineering term, patents, that described exactly what I was seeing in the sky above me as an express goal. And after seeing similar ingredients on numerous patents, one material being aluminum oxide, I began to do lab tests in the rain and from the dust settling on my solar panels, and the amount of aluminum was completely off the charts. And as I researched deeper, it was clear that these programs were fully deployed, although no one in any mainstream scientific publication has admitted to date that they are deployed. It's the elephant in the room, if you will. But again, in Shasta County alone, I've had to expand wind turbine power and hydro to make up for lost solar power. That's how often the sky is solar uptake is obscured with these trails. And again, that is the express goal of these programs: stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. That's what the patents state.
Google it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
And in a nutshell, people they want some sort of tangible verification, but there are certain things we can say with no ambiguity. Numerous patents describe exactly what we see in the sky: solar obscuration. The ingredients on the ground are exactly what those patents describe, and the first excuse people think as a source for where this material is coming from is China. California Air Quality Resources Board has studied the aerosols from China. Heavy metals are not amongst them. So this is a recent phenomenon. We've had rain tests in the last 5 years in Shasta County that have shown spikes in aluminum from an original baseline test, which was already high of 7 parts per billion, spiking as much as 50,000% in 5 years, up to 3,450 parts per billion. Literally toxic rain. So there's a mountain of metal raining down on us. It's toxifying everything. It's coming from somewhere, and it's not coming from China.
Yeah, this is not natural.
Well, this is not natural. I think it's important to go back to geoengineering. And again, geoengineering is the artificial modification of the Earth's climate systems. And in San Diego, back in February, at the American Association for the Advancement of Science meeting, geoengineers laid out their goals and their models for, as Dane said, stratospheric aerosol geoengineering programs.
If you Google David Keith, you can find all kinds of just lectures by him that will talk about it.
Yeah.
Correct. So, David Keith is considered to be the number 3 geoengineer in the world.
Yeah.
So for 3 days, we listened to geoengineers propose their models of spraying 10 to 20 million tons of toxic aluminum.
And this is where you got involved.
Into the sky. This is exactly where I got involved. So they were talking openly about this, and we're listening to these guys talking about some of the benefits and the risk. And one of the benefits that they said was cooling the planet. Some of the risks were droughts in Africa and Asia, ozone depletion, some real serious things. And we're actually seeing these things.
Yes, we are.
Okay, but the real story that came out of that meeting was the models of the use of aluminum. Because for the first time, geoengineers had stated that aluminum has 4 times the reflectivity, and it stays in the sky longer. So it would be a more effective metal to use. And what was unknown to most people around the world, of course, we're finding, as Dane said, mass contamination of aluminum. This was the first time that geoengineers actually spoke publicly about the use of these metals. Now, when we asked them about the current deployment or the plausibility of these programs having been done before, they blatantly denied it, stating that what we have been seeing in the sky are simply natural contrails. And of course, a contrail is short for condensation trail. It's normal water vapor. It's been around since airplanes have been flying. However, a condensation trail usually dissipates in about 4 to 5 seconds.
4 to 5, yeah.
Some linger